Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 88, featuring Abstract H. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse, and I'm the host of the TrekRanks podcast. And tonight, it's another one of those weird topics that you're only really ever going to hear on TrekRanks. It's Abstract. Abstract is now, I guess, officially a TrekRanks series because we're doing our second Abstract topic. And tonight, it's Abstract H. So way back on episode 68, we tried something new with Abstract 3s, and it was just a whole lot of fun. It was really well received. We got a lot of feedback on it. So we're doing it again tonight, but we picked the letter H as our abstract topic. Just the letter H. Whatever you associate that to in the world of Star Trek, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we'll get into it a little bit more in our Diagnostic Cycle. But first, let's introduce our two amazing Star Trek guests tonight. First up, making her second appearance on the show, is Carrie Purvis, all the way from the main nebula. Welcome back, Kerry.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. You weren't on too long ago, our Sheltered in Place episodes.
Yeah, it was, 2 months ago,
Yeah,
maybe?
A couple months ago. Actually, when this one comes out, it'll be 3 months. All right, and the other guest tonight, finally making his TrekRanks debut. He's the host of the groundbreaking and awesome Trek Profiles podcast, coming to us live from Trek Profiles HQ in the Vegas Expanse. It's John Krikorian.
Hey, everybody. Greetings from Las Vegas sector. What a thrill to be on Tricorder, and what a thrill to be recording with these two amazing people. I'm super jazzed.
I am fired up to hear what you guys have in store for us. But first, John, you know, we do our own little mini Trek profiles here. Whenever we have a new guest on, we ask them their quick Trek origin story. So,
Sure.
What's your nutshell Trek backstory on how you got into Trek? And you're a completist, right? I think you are now because you finished Voyager finally.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've finished Voyager. I'm making my way through Enterprise, which I did see an original broadcast. It's vaguely possible I may have missed one or two. I think it's unlikely. So, but I am going through Enterprise just to make sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I consider myself a completist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there has never been a time I didn't love Star Trek. I grew up in New York City watching WPIX 11 Alive, cross-legged on the floor on my parents' Sony Trinitron TV, watching the Star Trek TOS reruns every night. And I watched TNG in first broadcast, and when Encounter Farpoint came on, I was right there, saw the whole thing almost all the way through until I got into college, and then things got a little crazy. But I have always and forever loved Star Trek, and it's always been a big part of my life. And I will say, ever since I got into listening to podcasts and being on podcasts and doing podcasts, now it's even a bigger part of my life, I think, than it's ever been. And it's just been great.
Yeah, that WPIX comes up a lot on TrekRanks for people's Trek origin stories in the New York area. I love it. Yeah, we have a similar background there for sure, and I'm enjoying your Enterprise tweets, so keep those going.
Yeah, I'm enjoying them too. It's really, I just did my first watch of Enterprise. I think I finished a year ago now, maybe, and I'm enjoying your tweets as well.
Oh, thank you. The one thing that stuck out at me so far is that there is so much food in this show in the first season. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're eating all the time. It's amazing.
I love those scenes in the Captain's Mess, and yeah, I remember that we talked about that last time, Kerry, with your
yes, yeah.
Enterprise rewatch. Okay, let's get into our TrekRanks recalibration.
What are you recalibrating?
Everything. It's a sweeping, a recalibration of all systems.
First up, as regular listeners will know by now, general order number one here at the TrekRanks podcast that we love Trek. We love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. And remember, it's not about the ranks. That's just an excuse to talk about Star Trek. And there's no better excuse to talk about Star Trek than just picking a topic, H. I mean, that's what we did tonight. And as our good friend, the Vulcan Master, likes to remind us each week, the main driver for all of our discussion here at the TrekRanks podcast is
infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
No wrong answers. It's not about being right or definitive in any way. It's just about sharing the things we love about Trek. We love it all, from TOS to TNG, straight through to Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery and Short Treks and Star Trek Picard as well. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through Discovery's Season 2 and the second season of Short Treks, and now all the way through that first amazing season of Star Trek Picard. So everything's on the table for a topic like Abstract H. And one final reminder that we use episodes as a shorthand, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Interface, net access, channel 90.
And you can find TrekRanks on the net access interface links at TrekRanks.com. And you can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. You can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. At 609-512-5527. Okay, Kerry and John, why don't you guys let everybody know how they can get a hold of you on the net access interface, Kerry?
I can be reached on Twitter at KerrBearLib, KerrBearLib. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you can follow my Spanish account, which I don't tweet from as much, but I'm working on it. It's Carrie Trek, Karitrek.
Two great follows. And John, how about Trek Profiles?
Sure. It's really hard to figure out. It's Trek Profiles pretty much everywhere. I am most active on Twitter, although I do also have a Facebook page. So you can find me there at Trek Profiles on Facebook or Twitter, and also at trekprofiles.com, and also wherever finer podcasts are sold. You can get my show there. If deep dives into Star Trek nerdetry is your thing, then that's the kind of thing you might like.
Guess what? If you're listening to TrekRanks, that is your thing. All right, let's get into our level 1 diagnostic.
Diagnostic cycle will be complete in 20 seconds.
Okay, so for this week's diagnostic cycle, I'm just going to quickly run through this weird topic a little bit more. And I'm not even sure how I ever came up with these abstract topics, but it worked so well with the abstract threes. We're doing it again. I thought it made sense to pick a letter. And, the letter H just seems arbitrary enough that no matter what you pull out of subspace, there's going to be something interesting and cool to talk about with the letter H. So I don't really have, sometimes I give examples, but I don't really have any for this one because I don't want to pull something that somebody might have picked. But literally, it's just the letter H. It's a word, a planet, a name, something that starts with letter H. Maybe letter H isn't even the first word. Who knows? I'm assuming most people.
Jim, there should be a Star Trek category.
There you go. See, that would fit as well. I was actually trying to think of something like maybe looked like an H that I could pick. I didn't really succeed, but I don't know what looks like an H. Like a nanite maybe looks a little bit like an H. No, I don't know. Maybe one of these. Maybe one of you two have something up your sleeve in that regard. But yeah, that's it. It's just the letter H. We'll see how it plays out. It's abstract. That's what we're doing. Whatever you want to do. And we don't really do the 5 to 1 countdown as much on this one. It's not necessarily about top 5. It's just 5 H's that you want to call out. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into our prime directives, figure out how everybody narrowed down their list.
I do not concur with your captain's decision.
She's following our prime directive.
Define prime directive.
Okay, Kerry, let's start with you. What was your prime directive for Abstract H?
Oh, it was so hard to come up with a prime directive because I thought of so many H's. So what I decided to do was I really dug deep, and if I thought of something, I looked on Memory Alpha, and if it was mentioned in more than 10 episodes or more than 10 episodes were referenced, I didn't pick it. So everything I picked is referenced 10 episodes or less on Memory Alpha.
Okay. For a second, I thought you were going to say it had to be referenced 10 times. I was going to be, wow, that's going to be amazing. But so that's even just as fascinating. So it had to be a few mentions. That's pretty cool prime directive. I like it a lot. John, how about you?
So, Jim, when you first gave me this topic, I thought, oh, man, this is really weird. Yeah. And I really had to think about it. And so I decided to take a lesson actually from Star Trek. And I thought about the prime directive itself in the show. And when you think about the prime directive, it's not an affirmative command. It doesn't tell you to do anything. The prime directive just says, hey, y'all in Starfleet, just don't do this one thing right here. Everything else is fair game. And as I thought about the topic, I realized what's the difference between abstract H and list of stuff in Star Trek that begins with H. So that was a very clear lightning bolt that hit me. And so my prime directive was, if it was likely to appear in the index for memory alpha, I should not pick it.
Okay.
Because it's not abstract enough.
Memory alpha is our friend for this.
And so it came, I know, it was interesting you brought it up too. So, I mean, I'm just going to tell you right now, if like you're thinking about like a character name or the name of a ship, none of my picks are like that because my prime directive would say they're not abstract. It's just something in Star Trek that begins with H. That's how I thought about it. And I know we didn't come up with that ahead of time, but that was my way of thinking about it.
That is fantastic. I can't wait to hear your list.
I love that.
So I'm gonna rename my list Arbitrary H. How about that instead of abstract? So I just brainstormed a bunch of cool words that start with H, and then I was trying to like figure out, man, is there a theme here to narrow it down? And all I really did was I narrowed it down to 5 distinct categories, and I think most of these are probably listed on Memory Alpha for sure. I would say. Well, one would probably be not. So anyway, it's pretty abstract, but that's it. So I just had 5 different categories to make sure I wasn't being too repetitive. And I had a little bit of reach on my 5 list of arbitrary H's and John's abstract H's. Okay, this is going to be great. Let's get into it right now with Third Dramaticon.
I am a Jem'Hadar. He is a Vorta. It is the order of things.
Thank you, Third Dramaticon. And as always, just a quick reminder how we're going to go through the order of things. First, each of us will review our 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease our pick. Then we'll announce our abstract H selection and the specific reasons we're highlighting it. And we'll highlight one episode that we think represents that pick. And at the end, we'll ask everyone for a few secondary system selections for the picks that maybe just missed our list. And as always, if you have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. Okay, Kerry, we're going to start with you. Let's do this. What is your round 5 pick for an abstract H?
Okay, round 5. 5 words are top-selling souvenir from Ryza. Hashtag Jamaharan. It's the Horgon.
Oh my God. I did not think of that. That is so good. I love it.
Yeah, I picked it. I'm a big fan of the episode Captain's Holiday, and you actually see the Horgon in a number of different episodes in Riker's bedroom. Not a big surprise there.
Nope, shocking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I love that moment when Picard, he's sitting and reading, and these women keep coming up to him, and he doesn't know why they're bothering him, and it's because he bought the souvenir that Riker recommended or asked that he buy, and it's really a symbol of sexuality, which symbolizes that you want Jamaharan.
I don't understand. You say you wish to be alone, yet you carry the Horgon.
Well, I just purchased it. Why? Are you implying this has some special meaning?
The Horgon is the Rycian symbol of sexuality. To own one is to call forth its powers. To display it is to announce you are seeking Jamaharan.
Riker.
Do you seek Jamaharan?
I don't even know what it means. The Horgon is for a friend.
I see. Someone close to you.
That's right.
Someone you love.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, your attitude is most puzzling. I will leave you now to your book.
That is all I ask.
It's such a classic episode and a classic H in Star Trek. I love it.
It's an awesome pick. I love Captain's Holiday. And that scene, I remember that scene so distinctly because it's one of the first real, just fun moments in TNG where they were starting to branch out into a direction where it's literally all it was like a 5-minute fun and games with Picard being pranked by Riker in a pretty extreme, hilarious, and adult way. Very, very, I love that scene. I love that episode. I love this pick. John, what's your take on the Horgon?
Oh, I love the Horgon. It didn't even make my secondary systems. It didn't even occur to me, and I'm so delighted you picked it. The one thing I always think about when I think about that episode was the famous F&F memo. I leave that for people's imagination, but at one point Patrick was like, hey, I need to get off the ship and start doing stuff.
Yes.
And so they wrote this famous F&F memo.
Yes.
And I think this was the first episode where they really got into it.
Yeah,
I always think of it whenever I see the episode.
Yeah, it was kind of the beginning of branching Picard out a little bit. Awesome pick, man. I did not think of this one either. That's great. Okay, John, let's hear your truly abstract age.
All right. So I just want to say I had an easy time coming up with my 5. I'm still not sure in what order I want to do them, so I'm letting the spirit move me as we go through this.
I like it.
So I've decided to pick this one here. My 5 words and a hashtag: haunted hotel has hollow humans. Hashtag Colonel Richie RIP. And it's TNG Season 2, Episode 12, The Royale.
I love it.
The hotel is abstract.
I love it.
The hotel is abstract. The humans are abstract. The entire episode is an abstraction. I love it. Everything. It is the first thing I thought of within milliseconds of when you gave me this topic. I'm like, it's just one I said, this has to be on the list. And like, it never came off, and I knew it had to be there. And it was probably the most abstract thing I could think of in Star Trek right off the top of my head.
The whole episode is abstract. It's brilliant. Brilliant first pick. I'm so excited. The hotel in the Royale, which a lot of people think that title of that episode is Hotel Royale, which it's not. Carrie, what's your take on the Royale?
Yeah, I almost picked Hotel Royale, which is not the same as John's pick, but yeah, I love that. And that episode is just, I think it's underrated. I think it's so fun. I love it.
It is so much fun, and it definitely, I'm not sure underrated, I would say, but it's
yes, underappreciated.
It's underappreciated.
People embrace it.
Welcome, gentlemen. Have a nice trip.
Do you know us?
We've been expecting you. A trio of foreign gentlemen.
Yes, we're from the United Federation of Planets.
Of course you are. Welcome to the Hotel Royale.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, my round 5 pick. This one is one that I thought of about midway through my brainstorm, and it really hit me because I've always loved this. It's an alien species. So here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. You can't have their dilithium, hashtag, no matter the cost. The episode is Mirror Mirror from TOS Season 2, Episode 10. And it's the Halkins, the alien species on the planet in Mirror Mirror. And I always think about these guys because they really made an impression on me as a kid. They were a race of accomplished, peaceful people. And part of their backstory is that they've always been at peace. Total history of peace with this race, which is actually a pretty crazy sci-fi concept when you think of that just on its own.
We believe what you say, Captain Kirk, but our position has not altered. The Halkan Council cannot permit your Federation to mine dilithium crystals on our planet.
We have shown the Council historical proof that our missions are peaceful.
We accept that your Federation is benevolent at present, but the future is always in question. Our dilithium crystals represent awesome power. Wrongful use of that power, even to the extent of the taking of one life, would violate our history of total peace. To prevent that, we would die, Captain, as a race, if necessary.
I admire your ethics and hope to prove ours.
And they were so steadfast in their beliefs that they're going to stand up to the Terran Empire, and it doesn't matter if they're going to get wiped out, and it doesn't matter that they're going to take the dilithium anyway. They just stood up to them and were true to their morals and their beliefs. And I just have always really dug the Halkins, and they've been embedded in my head for literally 50 years. And I like the fact that Kirk's out trying to protect them. Like everything about going on in that episode is Kirk trying to figure out, well, can I save these Halkins? Anyway, that's it. The Halkins from Mirror Mirror. John, what's your take on that one?
I love that pick. And the one thing I thought was really marvelous about Mirror Mirror, and this is, remember, because this is before a lot of the other Mirror episodes that we've had come after, is it how they were constant in both universe, right? They were very peaceful, right, and refused to capitulate both in the Prime universe and the Mirror universe. And I just thought that was very lovely. that they had that consistency about them on both sides. And it was just glorious and a beautiful lesson, and I think something that Star Trek is really all about.
Yeah, really great point that they were the same in both universes, the way they were depicted. Although the guy in the mirror universe was a little more beat up. A little more ragged. Kerry, what's your take on the Halkins?
That's a good pick. I have to confess, I haven't seen that episode in a long time, so my memory's a little fuzzy.
Yep.
But just the way you're describing them is awesome. I love in the mirror universe how they kind of have the good versus evil, the people who want peace and have strong principles and are not going to let the Empire do these bad things. They stand up to them. So even though I don't quite remember them, I love that pick. I think it's awesome. And anything from the mirror universe episode's awesome.
And the last thing I'll say is I've always kind of thought I would like to see more of the Halkins, although they probably don't exist in.
I was going to ask, have they been in other mirror?
They've pretty much never been referenced again, and I'm pretty sure they don't exist in the mirror universe. Yes, because they got wiped off that.
Oh yeah, probably not.
Once Kirk left. Okay, let's go to round 4. Carrie, what's your number 4?
Okay, 5 words is the strong, silent valet type. # thank you for the drinks. It's Mr. Hom.
Oh yeah, another great one. Oh my God, I didn't think of him either.
He's so funny, and the 2 episodes that stick out for me are. The first one is Haven. I think that was the one where we first meet Loxana,
yeah.
And the scene when they're at the wedding or the pre-wedding banquet, and he's ringing the gong and drinking all the wine, and Data's like, "Wow, you're drinking a lot," and he just acts so insulted. And then later he says, "Thank you for the drinks," after not speaking at all. That was awesome.
Mr. Hom.
Thank you for the drinks.
Then in the Manhunt, that's the name of it.
Yep.
One, right? I think when he has Picard come to the quarters and Picard says, "Oh, where's everybody else?" And he's just smiling at him like, "Oh, buddy, you have no idea." Yeah, he's classic.
I love Mr. Hom, and those are. I mean, this is an awesome pick. Haven, I had on my TNG underrated because I actually kind of like that episode. But the thing I always think of with Mr. Hom is when Picard has to carry the suitcase. Like he thinks, I'll just pick this up. He's like, and it's like super heavy.
And he has nice legs too.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, Mr. Hom, there from the start. I love it. John, what's your take on Mr. Hom?
Love Mr. Hom. It was funny. I had someone on the show and they wanted to talk about the book Imzadi. And Mr. Hom has some lines in there, and I remembered reading it and coming across it and be like, "Whoa, wait! Mr. Hom has some lines here," and it was such a thing because he very rarely speaks. So anytime he talks, you got to pay attention. Just a great performance, a great character, and a great sort of counterweight to the force that is Loxana, right? Because they're just like a nice yin and yang together. And boy, you just couldn't ask for a better pick. That was a really good one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I always remember the actor too from. Carol's Strucken from Twin Peaks because he played a big part in Twin Peaks too. Great, awesome pick. John, how about you? What's your number 4 pick?
5 words and # Halloween horrors hopefully halted henceforth. # very bad poetry. TOS Season 2, Episode 1, I believe, Cat's Paw, a Halloween episode of Star Trek.
Oh my God. Also massively abstract. The only holiday episode in Star Trek history has just been selected by John Krikorian. Fantastic pick.
So it's just a weird episode with the cat, and I almost did the # Captain Kirk, but you kind of got to hear it. So I just didn't want to subject people to that, even though I just did. So I'll have to think about that. Not good, John. Try harder next time. But just everything about the episode is just so weird, and it had this weird Halloween vibe. And the thing I remember most about it was just the little shrunken Enterprise being held over the candle. I guess I remember that as a kid, and it's sort of the scene from the episode that stuck with me the most was that. And it was just so bizarre. Although I want to say that Theo Marcuse, I believe, was the name of the actor Korob, and the actor who played Korob, and he was just so delightful in the episode. So I'm not going to say it's a fantastic episode of Star Trek, but I always appreciate his performance in it for sure.
Yeah, Korob was awesome. I have just one comment to make on Cat's Paw right now, and that is that it was selected on abstract 3s for the 3 witches. I'm pretty sure Brooke Horton picked it because
that was unintentional.
And you just said it occurred in my head as soon as you imitated the witches. Yeah, she picked the 3 witches from Cat's Paw as an abstract 3, and now the Halloween episode, Cat's Paw. This is a trend. We have an abstract trend with Cat's Paw. Fantastic. Oh, so good. Carrie, what's your take on this?
Oh, that's such a good pick. And again, it's one I remember the witches. I remember that because I think we talked about that in English class when I was in high school because it was a reference to Macbeth, I think.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Cats, Halloween, Shakespeare, like so awesome. Such an awesome pick. I love the way you think, John. Your picks are just so awesome.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention that as whatever you think of this episode, find the 5-year mission song, Cat's Paw. It is so good. It will make you
excellent.
It will
Very
make
excellent.
you appreciate this episode in a way you never have before. This love story between Korob and Sylvia. It's amazing. Okay, I will go to my round 4 pick. Oh, this is my most abstract one. Here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. The H stands for Harris. Hashtag the true keeper of Trek. And it is Robert H. Justman, the longtime production personnel, executive producer of TOS and early TNG. And I love this man. He's known for his super dry and hilarious memos to Gene Roddenberry through the years of producing Trek. And he's one of the most important people in Trek's history in terms of, I try to celebrate guys like him and then like DC Fontana for her work, because what they did was they kept Star Trek on point. Star Trek, how do I say this? It wouldn't be remembered the way it is today if Spock had been a Martian, which was the original spec from Gene Roddenberry, that he'd be a Martian.
Right.
Because then it wouldn't be real science. It wouldn't be like this vision that maybe you could, it would be still a great TV show that people remembered, but it wouldn't be have made the mark that it made without people like Bob Justman just making sure the details were really, really covered and consistent and clear all the way through. And the episode I picked was not from TOS, it's from TNG. It's Encounter at Farpoint, because one of the memos that Bob Justman wrote to Gene Roddenberry in 1986, about a year before Encounter at Farpoint debuted, was a memo that covered 2 tiny little things. One was, hey, we should have an android on the show because here's all these reasons why that would be a great character. And 2, there's this British actor, Shakespearean. He's just relocated to LA. His name's Patrick Stewart. I think he would be a great Captain Picard. Here's all the reasons why. It's an amazing memo. And the fact that he has one memo that covers both those points. Bob Justman, Robert H. Justman. The H stands for Harris. I love this guy. Oh, and his handlebar mustache. It's another H. John, what's your take on Bob Justman?
I remembered as a youth reading the Making of a Star Trek book, the Whitfield book, and it has all these great Justman memos in it. And I think it was him. I'm going on memory here, but there's this one where he's talking about Vulcan names, and they got into this whole argument about, do they all have to begin with S and end in K? And he makes a list and he's responding to it. And the guy has such tremendous wit. And it's really hard, like in the middle of the workday, when you're trying to get things done, to sort of write with such clarity and with such crispness. And I just remembered reading it going, this guy's a character, man. What a guy. And, he's one of those people that is just, he doesn't get the same, obviously he doesn't get the same sort of recognition that Gene Roddenberry gets. But there is so much in Star Trek that is really due to him. And what a great pick to honor his memory and his contributions to the show.
Yeah, good summary. I had the same memories of reading the Making of Star Trek Whitfield book. Carrie, do you know anything about Bob Justman? Have you heard his name at all?
I know a little bit. I've read the 50-year mission, the first part, and then I've started the second one. So I know a little bit about him, but I love that you picked him. That's so cool. I wouldn't have even thought to go outside of the episodes and go to the people behind the scenes. And Just did he write for any series, or was he part of any series other than TNG and TOS?
No, he basically quit after the first season of TNG because of all the
I remember reading about
all the chaos
that.
behind the scenes, which was in the documentary Chaos on the Bridge.
Yes.
And he actually quit in the middle of season 3 too, because the quality had dipped so low, and he was trying to still do the same things that he'd done before, but Gene Roddenberry had left, and he famously defended Fred Freiberger. Gets a lot of abuse for the dip in quality in season 3 of TOS, and he always defended him and said, it's not Fred Freiberger's fault. He's doing what he can with the budget. And to be frank, he always said it was Gene's fault. Anyway, he's just a very, very interesting, memorable guy. And as soon as we came up with the H topic, I was like, his middle name's H, right? I gotta look that up.
Where can we find his memos? Is there a website somewhere where we can see these memos? I'm intrigued.
That's a good question. You could probably just Google them and find some articles. I wonder if that would be a great thing to compile, because they are so fun to read. I bet the Trek Docs Twitter feed has a bunch of them.
I'll have to look that up.
But the real thing you want to do is you want to go get that Making of Star Trek book, which is widely available. That you can easily get, and that would have a bunch of them in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And by the way, that example you gave about the S's and the names, that's the stuff I'm talking about. That by being so precise and consistent and thinking through those types of things, that's the thing that's made Star Trek 55-year phenomenon. That's never going to stop. Okay, let's keep going. Round 3. It's the soup round.
And now, as I'm sure that somebody out there has said, it's time to pay for the soup.
Let's do it. Kerry, what's your round 3 pick?
Okay, I wanted to try to, you'll see why I picked this in a second. So spicy your eyes water. Hashtag Bajoran burritos. It's Hasprit. And it's not soup, but I figured it's food.
It's a burrito, and I love Hasparats, so fantastic.
Yeah, Hasparat, that's how you say it. Yeah, so, this was actually one of the first things I thought of, because I was, going through a list and trying to, make sure I didn't pick all people or all ships, and this crossed my mind. And it's such a big part of Deep Space Nine, with the Bajoran culture being such a big part of that show, and it just came to mind immediately. And it's very important to people like Ro Laren and Takira. I could not put it in the list.
I love all the references to Hasparat. Did you pick an episode to associate it to?
What was the name of the one Ro Laren was in? I did not.
Preemptive strike.
Yeah, when she was talking about how the recipe was passed down from her father, I just thought that was very moving.
And the Maquis leader, Macias, who loved the eye-watering
brine for a Hasparat.
Yes, exactly. So awesome. I love Hasparat. John, what's your take?
Preemptive strike was definitely the first one that comes to mind too when I think about Hasparat, because that's the one where you really get, it's not just mentioned as I'm going to go have some lunch and I'm going to go have some Hasparat. It's one where they're really, giving a real ode to the food, and it's really part of the episode in a way that it wasn't in a lot of others. So I just thought that's a great pick, and it's on my secondary systems for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Did that make it into the cookbook that you were reading, the Neelix cookbook?
I don't think so. It's not one of the recipes I cooked out of it, that's for sure.
They definitely had a Hasparat at Quark's that you could order, like a burrito kind of thing at the Las Vegas, at the Experience. Okay. John, what's your soup round pick?
All right, here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. Horrific Husnak Holocaust happened here. Hashtag good tea, nice house. TNG Season 3, Episode 3, The Survivors. The Husnak are an abstraction because they don't exist anymore. They are obliterated, and they do not exist in universe, which is why they do not conflict with my Prime Directive. And it's an episode that I think about quite a bit because I'm always struck by the morality of the decision of what our friend the Daoud did and how Picard chose to leave him there. And it's something that I still kind of struggle with and think about with that episode. But when I thought about abstract H's, I thought, these cats are abstract, man, because they're not even there. They're not even in the episode. They're not in universe anymore. I had to put them on the list.
I love the Husnak. I love the ending of the Survivors. Awesome twist. And I love that you've made this abstract again, because they literally don't exist. They were wiped from history.
I saw her broken body. I went insane. My hatred exploded, and in an instant of grief, I destroyed the Husnak.
Why did you try to hide this from all of us? Was it out of guilt for not helping Rishon and the others when they were alive?
No. You don't understand the scope of my crime. I didn't kill just one Husnak, or 100 or 1,000. I killed them all. All Husnak. Everywhere.
Absolutely amazing, and it doesn't violate your Prime Directive. Well done. Kerry, what's your take on the Husnak and the survivors?
Oh, what a good pick. And I love that episode. And I'm so glad you brought up Good Tea, Nice House, because that's just one of the best Worf lines ever. I love it. Yeah, that episode, I remember watching that when I think I was 9 or 10, and I totally didn't get it. Like, I didn't catch on to the fact that, what was the wife's name? I can't remember.
Rishon Uxbridge.
Thank you. Rishon. I didn't catch on to the fact that Rishon was no longer alive. And I was very surprised by that. I remember that very clearly. And it was so sad how he loved her so much that he just destroyed an entire race just with a thought. And I think that's just so profound. And yeah, I love that pick. It's awesome.
Fantastic job, John. Awesome. Okay, let's go close out the soup round. 5 words of the hashtag: tongue-searing, eye-watering, spicy burrito treat. Hashtag made from a salty brine. Hey, it's not soup, but you can make it into a souffle, which we saw in Deep Space Nine, of course. And Quark brings the Hasbrat souffle to rescue Rom in Sacrifice of Angels, which is my pick for the episode.
Lunch for Major Kira.
Major Kira has already been fed.
And I can only imagine the slop you served her. What I have here is Hasbrat souffle, just the way the Major likes it.
And it's Hasbrat. I love Hasbrat. I knew I was going to pick this when H came up. I'm just like you, Kerry. It was one of the first things I thought of. And I love spicy foods. I can't tell you how much I want to eat Hasbrat every time it comes up on Trek. And yeah, there's nothing better than a spicy, delicious burrito. There you go. Hasbrat gets the double mention.
When I hear about it, I want to try it too, but I get the hiccups with spicy food, so that's probably not happening for me. But hiccup starts with H, so that works.
Oh, that another abstract H. Yeah, I love spicy foods, and the thought of a spicy Hasbrat burrito from Bajor is very tantalizing to me. I love Hasbrat. I knew it would be on my list, and I thought this might be a duplicate. So we did get a duplicate here on abstract H. And we have a weird trend going right now. I'm just going to say an early preview of the stats. 7 out of 9 picks are from TNG right now. That might be a record for a topic that includes all of Trek to have that many from one so dominant. All right, let's go to round 2. Kerry, what's your number 2 pick?
Okay, well, this is not TNG, so
okay, let's break that trend.
The 5 words are: Harry gets heckled by Komar. Hashtag don't quit your day job. It's Harry, Kim, and the Kim Tones.
Yes.
I wanted to find a way to mention Harry, but I couldn't do that with my Prime Directive. So I just thought I'd mention his band instead. And I just watched the episode too. I've been to Voyager season 7 now. So yep, just finished this one. And I loved it, that he was trying to play the old black magic and, he was getting booed off the stage, basically.
Oh, man.
And the doctor had to come take over. It's so funny. And then from what I know, we never see them again. So Kerry never got the band back together again.
I don't think we did, but I like that you can also pick heckled as an abstract H.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
That is the Kim Tones. Oh, God. So this is Virtuoso, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I love it. John, what's your take on Harry Kim and the Kim Tones?
I am so glad that somebody picked Harry Kim because the whole point, I just finished Voyager, and one of the things I noticed in it is poor Harry, he doesn't get a promotion. He's sort of always at the bottom of the barrel in a lot of ways. And I really wanted him to get some respect. And I'm glad that someone picked him. I knew I could not because it was against my Prime Directive, but I'm so glad because I think he deserves mad props.
I did consider Harry. I did not consider Harry Kim and the Kim Tones. And this is This is a big moment for TrekRanks that Harry Kim and the Kim Tones is an actual selection. That is as abstract as it gets. All right, John, let's go to your number 2 pick. What do you got?
All right, here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. Honky Tonk Homicide halts head honcho. Hashtag Cortical Node Revenge. Star Trek Picard, Season 1, Episode 5, Stardust City Rag. It is the homicide of Bejazel by 7 of 9.
Oh, my God. You're going dark. You're going dark.
It was probably the most jaw-dropping moment for me in all of Season 1 of Picard, probably in a lot of Star Trek. I mean, I'm not much of a person. I don't make a lot of lists like this. But it really was a moment when I just said, what is happening right now? And when I looked at my Prime Directive and I thought about what kind of things I wanted to talk about, I had to think about the episodes that had a really big effect on me. And just like the Royale had a big effect on me, Survivors has a big effect on me every time I watch it. That moment in that episode really got to me. And I feel like there's a story as yet untold that I hope they come back to. And we find out more about what was going on there, because it was stunning. And it's something that I'm still thinking about whenever the topic of Star Trek Picard comes up.
Yeah, it was stunning. And that's another abstract topic that you're probably not going to find as a listing on Memory Alpha. Although, who knows? Maybe they have homicides. but there's really there's no arguing that that's what it was. I mean, it was a revenge killing and a intense, incredible moment at the end of a very interesting, unique episode. Kerry, what's your take on 7 of 9's homicide of Bejazel at the end of Stardust City Rag?
Oh my gosh. Such a good pick. I'm so glad you picked this, because it was a very what is going on moment for me too. I was showing the moment to my husband again the other day because we were talking about Seven's evolution and how she's changed and grown since Voyager and how she is now in Picard, and the homicide. But then before that too, when she and Bejazel are reunited and they're talking and the way they're looking at each other, it's so intense, and it's clear they've had a previous relationship, and you can just feel it, the way they're looking at each other. So yeah, just seeing how 7 has grown and how she feels. I love this pick. It's so awesome. And I'm glad we got to talk about it, because A7.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm sorry I wasn't able to keep it light for you, Jim, but it's something that made my list.
You could spend a whole episode on this topic alone.
Really good.
No, it's awesome. It's a great pick. I mean, I love that episode. It's normally not the kind of episode I would like, because I think the tone is a little bit misses, because there's 3 brutal murders in that episode. Each Ebb gets murdered, and so does Bruce Maddox. And it's all sandwiched around.
That could be for your abstract threes.
Yeah, right. There you go.
3 murders.
Yeah, abstract threes. 3 murders in Stardust City.
And yet it starts off with this sort of comedic sort of bent, when they go down to the planet, you've got the outrageous costumes, and then it takes these turns. It really was a roller coaster.
Well, it starts with a murder, and then there's all this hijinks, and then there's 2 more murders. The tone's a little bit weird, but you know what? I love that episode. It's an interesting watch, to say the least. Okay. Let's go to my round 2 pick. 5 words and a hashtag. Inner Ring of Terok Nor, hashtag, AKA the Habitat Ring. And you guessed it, it is the Habitat Ring. And this one just kept staying on my list. It's obviously a location like a ship. And I picked the episode The Forsaken from Deep Space Nine, because I like the way the ambassadors are bitching about their quarters on the Habitat Ring, and they want to be moved to the crew quarters on a different level. And Julian's like, I can't deal with you guys. That's right before, by the way, that he says, we're recalibrating everything, which you hear on this show. But it's just a cool set. It's just uniquely Deep Space Nine. It really stood out to me as a set that just defines the difference in Deep Space Nine and the corridors you see on a starship. And yeah, I just think the Cardassian aesthetic is really cool. I like the walk and talks that take place in the Habitat Ring. And they have a lot of cool external effects on it too, because they have those landing pads for the runabouts that are seen once in a while. Every time they show them, it's pretty cool. like in The Pale Moonlight. And in The Way of the Warrior, they have all the weapons are kind of attached to when the weapons pop out. That's a big surprise. They're on the Habitat Ring. I just like the Habitat Ring. I just love Terok Nor. Love Deep Space Nine. So that's my pick. Carrie, what's your take on the Habitat Ring?
I love that. I love the Habitat Ring pick. And it's so interesting that you mentioned Dr. Bashir and the ambassadors of Unhappy, because I talked about them when I was on your show last time. That particular scene where they had to go pull the wall panel out and go inside the wall to get away from the fire. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't even cross my mind, the Habitat Ring. That's a really cool pick, and it's such a big part of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, they just talk about it all the time. It's just kind of there. And that's right. You chose the Forsaken on Sheltered in Place. That's awesome. John, what's your take?
Hey, whenever you think about Deep Space Nine, especially about the visual architecture and sort of the design language of the show, a big part of that is the station, right? Because it has this Cardassian aesthetic. And so much of the art direction on Deep Space Nine was really important in that it separated that show, the look of it, from everything else, right? Because you had Voyager, you got TNG, and they have a very similar look being on Federation starships. The minute you turn on Deep Space Nine and you're in the Habitat Ring or in Ops or any place on Deep Space Nine, it's different because there's just a different color palette. They have those weird ovals everywhere the Cardassians seem to like. It's just a glorious pick. It's fantastic, and I'm so glad it came up. And it really made the show take a step up.
Yeah, the hallways always feel a little claustrophobic. They're tight, and I love that they have the lips, like that are very not in between all the different breaks in the corridor, so that people with disabilities would never be able to get through them very easily. Very Cardassian because they're very not PC. So that's another just cool design aesthetic, I think. Okay, let's go to round one. Abstract H. Kerry, what's your round one pick?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. So 5 words are not the hell your whales, #George and Gracie. It's humpback whales.
Oh my God, I am in love with this pick. I love whales. This is so cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had to pick this. And the Star Trek 4, it's such a classic. And it's one of the few films that I will introduce to my friends who don't like Star Trek. Mm-hmm. My best friend growing up, she didn't like Star Trek and would get really annoyed with me whenever I wanted to watch it. But she would watch that movie with me and she loved it. And we would always quote Scotty, "There be whales here." And my dad, he's not really a big Trek fan either, but he went to the movies to see it with my mother. I remember this and him coming home and being like, "Hey, that was actually good."
Admiral, there be whales here.
Well done, Mr. Scott. How soon can we be ready for warp speed?
Full power now, sir.
There's so many great scenes with the whales, like when Spock jumps into the tank and he's trying to mind meld with Gracie. And the not the hell your whales, that's iconic, just classic. So yeah, humpback whales.
Yeah, just when Spock says, and I'm a huge animal lover, which I've said many times on TrekRanks, sorry for saying it again, but when he says, if we were to do, what we want with these whales without asking them, we'd be no better than, people that created this problem to begin with. And I love that. I love whales. Love this pick. They are not the hell your whales. John, what's your take on The Voyage Home?
How can you not love The Voyage Home? So I mean, good. Every little bit of it is just so amazingly good. We've got everything from the punk on the bus. Yep. We've got Michelob beer. Yep. We've got remember where we parked. We've got
yes, no.
McCoy's humor in the hospital. We've got a chase scene. We've got a Klingon ship. We've got adventure. We've got friendship. It's like every single ingredient in the Star Trek burrito amped up and rolled into one tasty little snack. It's a fantastic movie, and I love watching it. And I'm glad you picked it.
Humpback whales, inspired number one pick. I love it. All right, John, what's your number one abstract H?
Here we go. 5 words and a hashtag, baby. Heavy hearts have hopeful hymn. #We can be heroes. Short Trek Season 2, Episode 6, Children of Mars. It's the song Heroes which of course we hear played throughout the entire episode. And it was abstract because it's not actually in the episode.
Right.
It's just the music that we hear. And it's beautifully sung in a beautiful short trek that's really touching and emotional and really sets the stage for Star Trek Picard, which shortly came thereafter. And I love the way that David Bowie sings it. I love the various covers of that song. And it's something that really touched me when I saw it. And there's no way that I could not pick it for this topic.
Oh, incredible pick. It's such a unique 10-minute short, this Children of Mars Picard preview, because there's almost no dialogue. There's very, very little dialogue at the beginning with some of the kids. And the script is basically the song Heroes, this Peter Gabriel version of the Bowie song. Incredible pick. I love this moment. I love that Short Tracks is getting a shout out. Kerry, what's your take on Heroes from Children of Mars?
Oh, such a good pick. I love that song. I love Peter Gabriel. I love that short track. It's so good. And I feel like it's such a good song. Just the emotion behind it and the emotion those girls are feeling when they find out there's been the attack. And the story before that, how they were both mad at each other, both having a bad day and mad at each other. Yeah, I love that song. Love that episode. Just such a good pick.
Yeah, it's so emotional. It does such a good job. And it's such a unique thing that they've done with the short tracks. This is basically just a 10-minute hype video for Picard series.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When you think about it. But it's standalone and it's an episode of Star Trek, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Peter Gabriel is canon now. Yay.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so let's close it out. I love your guys' picks, and I love my number one. I think round one's going to be the standout. So my 5 words and a hashtag: celebrating the language of Trek. Hashtag Ardani. And it is Homeworlds from the episode Nepenthe from Picard Season 1, Episode 7. It's frankly, to me, one of the best episodes of Star Trek I've ever seen. I can say that without any hesitation. There's no recency bias whatsoever. It's that good. And the reason I love this episode so much is I never truly appreciated the word homeworld and how integral it is to Star Trek until, this episode aired, Nepenthe. There's been 778 episodes of Trek, and homeworld is just a part of it. It's part of the fabric of Star Trek. And what Michael Chabon did with his script in Nepenthe is he deconstructed what home means. And you have it kind of structured around this pretend girl looking for her home and a real boy in Thaddeus Troy Riker wanting his own homeworld that he makes up in his head, Ardani, this language that he makes up. And Ardani means homeworld, and he eventually ends up having his own homeworld on Nepenthe before he dies from his illness. And it just got me thinking about how that word homeworld is just permeated through Trek, and it's a part of the language of Trek. And forever it was the Klingon homeworld, long before it was Kronos. And you've heard, you just hear it everywhere, whether it's Spock's homeworld or Troy's homeworld, Betazoid, Bajor, Vulcan, whatever it is. Homeworld is a part of Trek, and it's my number one abstract H. So, John, what's your take on homeworld?
Oh, it's a glorious selection. And I think that Nepenthe could have come up in a lot of different ways on abstract H's. And I think in a lot of other, I think it's going to be a perennial favorite on TrekRanks, Jim. I'm just speculating on that. But there's so much in that episode that really speaks to people. For everything from the performances to sort of what I would call the quote unquote Star Trek content of it, on what it means to have friends and what it means to find your place in the galaxy.
He was looking for an implanted memory of a real place. And when I told him about the lightning and the moons, he said, "You found home." And that's when he tried to kill me.
Thors, Maddox. He left Earth right after the ban. No one was able to find him for 14 years. Maybe he went to this planet with the 2 red moons.
And resumed his work creating synthetic life forms.
Soji, You have a homeworld. I have a homeworld. My Ardani.
I think it's just a great pick, and it gave some real color to the lives of the Riker Troy family, and it was just a very special episode and really touching. So I'm glad it came up.
Yep. Kerry, what's your take on Homeworld?
That's such a good pick. In that episode, I remember getting chills when they went down to the planet and this little blonde girl's running up to them and Picard says, "Hello, Kestra." And yeah, I just got chills when that happened. It was so cool. You really made me think about Homeworld now. And that was a very big part of that episode, obviously, because they went there to try to heal their son. And that didn't happen, unfortunately. But so many homeworlds in Star Trek, too. And they're so important to people in Star Trek because we see them on the ships or on the space stations. We don't see them where they're from, where their home is. Such an important part of Trek. And in this episode, we actually do kind of get to see that, I think, in a way, because that's where Riker and Troy are living. They're not on a ship. That's where they live. And they went there for a very specific reason. So, yeah, wonderful pick.
I think when you rewatch this episode, anyone who hasn't seen it a second or third time, it really, the conversations between Troy and Soji are just really, really incredible with in regard to.
Oh yeah, and the one with her with Troy and Picard, where she's like, "Listen, like, you don't know what you're doing, and have you considered this from her perspective?" And I just,
so good.
I wish they'd written more moments like that for her because it was just so amazing. I loved it.
Someday we might do top 5 Troy episodes, and I'm pretty sure Nepenthe is my favorite one. So.
Oh, that's definitely going to be on the list.
Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, let's get into some secondary systems after that great first round.
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
Carrie, what's on your list?
I had Holy Rings of Betazed.
Oh, that's good.
Hollow novels. I really wanted to talk about Hoshi Sato, but she just didn't fit in my Prime Directive. So, but she's on the secondary. 2 times 2. So we have, and it's, you just mentioned Nepenthe, Hugh.
Yep.
Former Borg Hugh, and then Hugh Culber from Discovery, the Doctor. So we have 2 Hughs, and the Helm and Hoverball.
Oh, the Helm! I like that. That's a good abstract. And the Hoverball is awesome.
Yeah.
I like too that you said Hollow novels and not the Holodeck. I thought Holodeck might come up, but that hasn't come up yet.
I thought it would too. Yeah, so that's why I went with Hollow novels.
What about Hollow Suite? John, what's on your list?
So my list is basically ones that were either I felt a little too cute or way too abstract. So because they just didn't fit with my Prime Directive. So first I got H, Jean-Luc Picard, which comes from the Last Best Hope book when Una McCormick settles on this idea that Jean-Luc is not actually his first name. He has an initial. So it's H.
Oh, that's not right.
Voyager. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Voyager.
I haven't read that yet.
Spoiler. It's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. Voyager Endgame, because it's all about getting home. Hair, Mr. Matabolian, something there. Faith of the Heart. What I was going to do with that.
Oh yeah,
I like that. That's a great abstract.
How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth from Animated Series.
Animated series pick.
The Halkins almost made my list, but I had to eliminate them because of my Prime Directive. But I did come up with 5 words for it. Hateful humans have Halkin Holocaust. So there you go. Enjoy that.
I love it.
The H&I Network, which does the All Star Trek, which is a big part of Star Trek Twitter. So I thought about that too. The Hilton Hotel, which is where the Star Trek Experience used to be.
Breaking my heart.
Oh, yeah.
The Heist of Stealing the Enterprise in Star Trek 3. The word hello, which is the first thing the Romulans say in Star Trek 2009, which I thought was just amazing. After blowing the Kelvin to bits and it's like lying there with big holes in the hull, the Romulan appears and he goes, hello.
Yep.
So what?
Oh my gosh. Wait. I have a thought. What if someone did like an Adele version of hello for that? Like, hello from the other side. That'd be so perfect. Someone has to do it.
I also got, and this one's kind of really weird, but hacking the holodeck, delete the wife from Fairhaven.
Oh my God, hacking the holodeck.
The wife, love it.
The handcrafted starship in Explorers, Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
The haberdashery in Time's Arrow. And the episode Tapestry, which is all about Picard's heart.
Oh, that's good. Oh my God, a lot of abstract things. When you said hello, I was thinking of the kids' school computer in Rascals when the little when the huma huma nuka nuka apua fish, which is another H, comes up on the screen and says hello.
Oh, that's right. No, I didn't think about
the
that.
Little Jean-Luc
Great.
Picard, and yes, I just said huma huma nuka nuka apua
There's a great hello in The Voyage Home too. Hello, computer.
Oh, that's of course another great hello. All right, my toughest cut, I really wanted to include it, was the Hubitian baths from The Way of the Warrior when Dax and Kira are at the spa, and the Hubitian baths are on Trill, and I keep thinking we might see them in Discovery season 3 because we're likely going to Trill based on some of the previews there. I also had the USS Hathaway from Peak Performance, the ship that Riker has to reset, and Cyrano Korami is just not having it. Acceptable losses. We can lose the Hathaway. All right. And then I had Harcourt Fenton Mudd, Captain John Harriman. I had the Hakonians from the episode Jetrel in Voyager. I considered them. And the Hansons, 7 of 9. Annika Hansen and her family.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
I had Hughes, both Hughes. I had the Hirogen. I love the Hirogen. I had the Hyperion water treatment plant because it's about a mile away from my house, and it's where they film Broken Bow, and they film a lot of cool sci-fi shows there, and I ride by it on my bike every day.
Nice.
And I had Hawaiian shirts for Harry Kim. I wasn't going to do Harry Kim, but I considered Hawaiian shirts. And one special shout out to Harv Bennett, who was the executive producer and developed the scripts on pretty much most of the TOS films, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go with an abstract H, and I knew we'd get into some serious deep cut picks and some awesome. We might have even some first time picks on this show tonight. Fantastic job. Let's get into our regeneration cycle and run through a recap.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Kerry, recap your 5 abstract H selections.
So my 5 picks were the Horgan from my episode was Captain's Holiday. Number 4 was Mr. Halm from TNG. Number 3 was Hasperat. 2 was Harry Kim and the Kim Tones. And number 1 was Humpback Whales.
Awesome overall list. You had 3 from TNG, 1 from Voyager, and 1 from a TOS film. Fantastic. John, how about you? What was your top 5?
Yep, my top 5 was the hotel in the Royale in TNG. Number 4 was the Halloween episode Cat's Paw from TOS. Number 3 was the Husnock from TNG's episode The Survivors. Next, we have the Homicide of Bejazel by 7 of 9 and Stardust City Rag from Star Trek Picard. And then finally, we have Heroes, the song from the short Trek's Children of Mars.
Awesome list. Truly an abstract 5. You had 2 from TNG, 1 from TOS, 1 from Picard, and 1 from the short Treks. I love seeing a short Trek shout out. Okay, my 5-pick summary was the Hawkins from TOS, Mirror Mirror. A round 4 pick from TNG, Encounter at Farpoint, Bob H. Justman. The H stands for Harris. My number 3 pick was also Hasperat, except I chose the episode Sacrifice of Angels, where it was featured as Hasperat Souffle. And my number 2 pick was the Habitat Ring, also from Deep Space Nine, episode of Forsaken. And my number 1 pick from Nepenthe, the word Homeworld. And I had 2 from Deep Space Nine, 1 from TNG, 1 from TOS, and 1 from Picard. So we spread it around pretty good in the end. We had that early TNG run, but then we ended up covering a lot of ground here. So we had 1 duplicate, and we had 6 from TNG, and then 3 from TOS, 2 from Picard, 2 from Deep Space Nine, and 1 each from Deep Space Nine and the short treks, and we also had 4 from TOS because we had 1 film represented as well. Pretty good job spreading around. No Kelvin Timeline, Enterprise, or Discovery reference tonight. But as always, we've once again entered a temporal causality loop. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
The Enterprise has been caught up in a temporal causality loop, and I suspect that something similar may have happened to you.
And for this week's temporal causality loop, we got an awesome voicemail from Naomi, a senior at Park School somewhere in Sector 001. I have no idea where. And guess what? The future of Star Trek fandom is very secure in the hands of people like Naomi, because this temporal voicemail is awesome. And it's truly temporal because we're going back to episode 82, which was our top 5 run of 5 episodes. But she left the voicemail before the episode aired because she was so excited about the topic. And then her list includes at least 2, I think at least 1 or 2 of the runs of 5 that ended up being featured on the show anyways. And now we're playing her voicemail all the way here in episode 88. So if you're following all that, I don't think Captain Braxton can follow all that. It's a true temporal causality loop. And she rattles off her 5 run of 5 episodes like a fan of 50 years, not a high school senior. And it's just awesome. So here is Naomi's list.
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm from Westminster, Maryland, and I have been thinking about what you guys proposed in your last episode of what you're going to do next, the top 5 run of 5 episodes, and I have some takes. I've been thinking about this. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do it before you do the episode, but I hope you find this interesting. In number 5, I have from season 3 of DS9, past tense 1, past tense 2, Life Support, Heart of Stone, and Destiny. Number 4, I have from season 3 of TNG, Yesterday's Enterprise, The Offspring, Sins of the Father, Allegiance, and Captain's Holiday. In the 3rd spot, I have from seasons 4 to 5 of TNG, In Theory, Redemption 1, Redemption 2, Darmok, Ensign Rowe. Number 2, I have from season 1 of the original series, Space Seed, A Taste of Armageddon, This Side of Paradise, The Devil in the Dark, and Errand of Mercy. And in first place, from season 6 of DS9, the run is Statistical Probabilities, The Magnificent Ferengi, Waltz, Who Mourns for Morn, and Far Beyond the Stars. So I'm really excited to see this next episode. And as a really big Star Trek fan and like a current high school senior, like, I've just been binging your podcast, and it's really keeping me going right now. It brings a lot of joy into my life. So thank you guys for your awesome, super positive nerddom. And yeah, I hope to hear from you guys, and looking forward to the next episode. Okay, bye.
All right, amazing list from Naomi. Just awesome. I mean, how cool is she? And congrats, Naomi, on graduating in the very cool class of 2020. I loved your list.
Congrats, Naomi.
Yay.
Yeah, congrats.
Class of 2020 is a unique one, to say the least.
Yes.
For these graduates. So, all right, once again, those picks definitely good enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal causality loop. So, as always, I want to thank everyone again for all your great picks and all your responses here to the TrekRanks podcast. Keep your lists coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter so we can retweet them. But we also want to hear from you. So please put together your own list of abstract H or any list from any of our past shows. Give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. That's 609-512-LLAP. Or you can just record a list on yourself and then just link me to it via DMs. That works too. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, we are doing our first ever topic on just the films. So all 13 films are going to be in place for this cool topic, which is a pretty simple one, but it's a fun one. It's going to be a great way to focus on the tentpole films that helped prop up Trek for so many years. So the topic is pretty clear. It's our top 5 movie villains. That's it. Simple, clean. Who you got? Who's your top 5 movie villains? They could be a deep cut or a loud and proud villain. So Kerry and John, if you had to choose just one off the top of your head, a Trek movie villain that you wanted to highlight, who would it be, Kerry?
General Chang.
General Chang.
Would absolutely be General Chang. I love that character. Christopher Plummer was brilliant in that role, just so brilliant. So absolutely, he hands down.
I have a feeling he will be a popular choice. John, where are you gonna put your one pick?
I might have been influenced by my recent interview I did with Alex Perry, but I'm thinking about Malcolm McDowell's character in Generations.
Yep.
It's a guy who I can't remember the character name off the top of my head.
Soren.
That's it, Dr. Soren. Yeah. He really was a villain, but it wasn't because he was some mustache twirling bad guy. It's because he really had a mission on something that he wanted to be happy. His mission was happiness, and because of that, he ends up being a villain. And I remember being really influenced by Alex in that discussion that we had, and it made me give Generations another look. And I think that he's really a very, very interesting villain when you think about it.
I agree. And needless to say, that was an awesome episode of Trek Profiles with our good buddy Alexander Perry. Soren is a really interesting villain, blowing up worlds just so he can get back to the next one. So, because he's literally just blowing up planets.
And I think it's so cool that Malcolm McDowell is the uncle of Alexander Siddig.
Yes, really cool. that is kind of an amazing little piece of trivia. Okay, that's going to be a fun topic because it's going to be one of those finite topics. So it's we'll see how it goes. All right. So before we wrap it up here, a huge thanks to Carrie Purvis and John Krikorian. It was great to have you guys on the show, and John, to finally get you on. Any final Trek subspace communications you guys want to relay before you depart, Kerry?
Oh gosh, I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
You got it. How about you, John?
Wow, what a thrill to be on TrekRanks and to go through this really wild topic with you, Jim. I remembered when you came out with the Abstract Threes topic, and it was the first time I think I was actually inspired to send you a list was that episode, because it just spurred so many crazy thoughts. And so it was really great to come on back to do Abstract H's with you. And if people have an interest in wanting to hear my podcast, I do a show where I do long-form deep dive interviews with Star Trek nerds on why we love Star Trek. And you can find that at Trek Profiles.
You can find just a little bit of everything on Trek Profiles. It's a great listen. John does an awesome job. And yeah, I appreciate finally getting you on, John. This is the perfect topic for you. You killed it. Super awesome picks all around, to say the least. So,
thank you.
All right, guys. Just thanks again, everyone, for engaging with us here on episode 88 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
Hasperat.
You like Hasperat?
An old Bajoran friend of mine used to make it. Oh, his was stronger. He was killed many years ago, fighting the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. I miss his company and his Hasperat.
My father used to make the strongest Hasperat you've ever tasted. Everything else seems mild by comparison.
Did he teach you how to make it?
Yes, but I haven't tried it in years.
If you would make the brine for a really strong Hasperat, I mean an eye-watering, tongue-searing strong, you'd make an old man very happy.
I would enjoy making it again.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire TrekRanks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
I tried to do all my 5 words with H's.
I know. I didn't want to interrupt, and I kept meaning to reference it, and then I never did. I was going to say, by the way, I know what you're doing. I see it, and I appreciate it, and I never did. God damn it. Maybe I'll dub myself and say something. No, it's even better. We'll make people figure it out themselves.
So, without further ado, I give you Harry Kim and the Kim Tones.
We wish to hear the doctor.
Yes, the doctor.
Bring back the doctor.
We want the doctor to sing.
Doc, they're dying up there. You've got to do something. Pick up the tempo.
That old black magic has me in its spell. That old black magic that you weave so well. Those icy fingers up and down my spine. The same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine. The same old tingle that I feel inside. And then that elevator starts its ride. And down I go. Round and round I go like a leaf that's caught in the tide.